The main thing as an investor is control, and see if you can control the asset, then you have options, right? Hey guys, this is Levi Skinner here. First off, I just want to say thank you for taking a moment to look at some of my content, to join, or at least hopefully potentially join my YouTube channel. My goal here is simply just to have a channel that can be interactive, where I will come on here, I will share different business opportunities, different ways to make money, different ways to generate revenues. Most of my focus will be on real estate because most of my investments are within the real estate space. But even though I do a lot of investment in the real estate space, I also do investments in other spaces. And so hence the name Real Estate Investing and More. A little bit about myself. I was actually born and raised in a country called Guyana in South America. And so I have a little bit of the Caribbean, Texas, Guyanese accent. And so if you hear an accent, that's what that is. And, for me, it's just really been a privilege and an honor to be able to do the things that I'm able to do now, especially. And, when you've gotten an opportunity to live in another country, you realize how blessed you are to be able to spend your life and live in the United States. It's one of the greatest countries in the world. And so I always tell people, if you can't make it here, you can't make it anywhere, because this is it. This is as good as it gets. And I live life with that understanding that it's a privilege to be able to do what we do. It's a privilege to be able to be given the opportunity to live in such a great and wonderful country. With that being said, it doesn't mean that everything is perfect, but essentially what it means is, when you look at everything else, all things considered, this is one of the better places to be able to spend your life, okay? And so I'm blessed because of that. A little bit about me, my backstory, my career. From a very young age, I've always knew that I wanted to run my own business. I've always had the inclination to run or be a part of businesses. I've actually, from a very young age, 9 or 10, I used to buy popsicles back then. And we would buy popsicles and we would take it to the market and sell it. And then during the week, as I go to school every day, when I'm coming home, I had a few days I'd go buy some popsicles, put it in the freezer, freeze it, and then on the weekend I would sell it and make some extra money. And then it came from that to raising chickens and having two chickens and just essentially ended up having a yard full of chickens. And we would obviously get the eggs and sell the eggs. And so I've always had small businesses that I wanted to do or have done from a very, very young age, about 9 or 10 years old. And then of course my dad used to have businesses of his own. And so for me, I kind of grew up in a household where being in business was just a part of our everyday life. And looking for ways to make money, to generate income, was a big part of our lives, okay? Fast forward in 2001, I started working for a company called Walgreens. Most of you guys know Walgreens because it's almost on every corner. I think they're up to about 7,000 stores. And what I love about my career at Walgreens, it really gave me an opportunity to learn and grow, and more importantly, work processes, implement processes. When you think about a store, when you think about Walgreens or McDonald's or any one of these big chains, they're having to be able to run a lot of stores. Walgreens had over 7,000 stores. And if you go into any one of those 7,000 stores, a lot of the processes they have in place, similar processes. And so what it taught me during my career is, if you want to grow or you want to expand anything that you have, the only way you can do it is on, implementing sound processes that your team can follow with some direction from you and active involvement. But if you do it right, you can be successful. And so during my Walgreens career, I also started investing in real estate. And I figured out from a very young age that, if you're going to be investing, one of the safest and soundest investment is in real estate. And so hence why most of my investment, most of the businesses I start are generally around something real estate related. Sometimes we have a couple of others that may not be, but most of them, some type of real estate is tied to that investment. And so that is kind of the area that kind of took me down my entire career path, was working at Walgreens, invested in real estate. In about 2005, I came across a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And, before then, I knew what I wanted to do. And I knew that I wanted to work for so many years, and I knew I wanted to retire right around 35 from corporate America and hopefully get into business for myself. But I really did not have a clear blueprint of what that should look like. I didn't understand what, the difference is in, the different quadrants. And so one of the things that Robert Kiyosaki helped, and if you have not read Rich Dad Poor Dad, or you have not read the Cash Flow Quadrant, then it's going to be hard for you to even, understand or at least get to understand a lot of the things that I'm talking about, because all of the investments I do, or everything that I do, and the way things are set up, are based on the four cash flow quadrants. And those quadrants are the employee quadrant, E for employee, meaning that you work, you exchange your time for dollars. That's what it means. That's what an employee is. It's someone that exchanges time for dollars. The self-employed quadrant, which is a little bit better than the employee quadrant in that you have a little bit more control, right? It's your job. If you don't go out, you don't get paid. Unlike, an employee, maybe you take a day off, you're sick, you got a vacation day, you still get paid, but mostly you're exchanging time for dollars, in addition to whatever vacation time you have. Where you're self-employed, you got a little bit more control. No one is over your back, pushing you, telling you need to do certain things every single day, but you're still exchanging time for dollars. And then you have the business owner, or what I call it, entrepreneur quadrant, business owner, entrepreneur. This is where you are going to come up with processes. You implement processes, and based on those processes, you're able to generate revenue, generate an income. And then you have the ultimate, where for me personally is where I believe you want to retire, is the investor quadrant, the fourth quadrant. And the investor quadrant is where you take your money and you put it out on the street, and you get more money come back to you. Put out 100,000, you get 150,000. And so all you do is look at investment opportunities, and you put your money and then get a return on your money, and you keep multiplying every single year by investing just cash. Okay. When I think about life cycle, my life cycle, the way I look at my life cycle is that when I first started off, as I mentioned to you guys before, I started off working as an employee at Walgreens. I worked for 17 years at Walgreens. And while working for Walgreens, I was also operating as an investor. I was investing in real estate, right? I started my real estate investing business. And so I was operating as a business owner and an investor. I was actually operating in either 2 or 3 quadrants, depending on what I was doing. If I was flipping, then I was operating in 2 quadrants. I'm sorry, in 3 quadrants. But if I was simply just, buying a house or, investing in real estate and then getting the returns, then I would be operating as an investor. But for the most part, I was an employee, I was a business owner, and then I was an investor, okay? And so I did that for the longest while. And I knew that at some point I needed to stop being an employee and leave my corporate America job and move over to doing more the business owner and the investor job. And so in about 2017 is when I decided to transition over completely from the employee job to a business owner or entrepreneur and an investor. So now I'm no longer an employee, but I am still a business owner, and I am involved in multiple different businesses. Well, some people, not everybody is going to get an opportunity to leave your job, and that's not what I'm advocating. I'm not saying to you, hey, leave your job. What I will say to you is, when you think about the role of an employee, right? If you're having to exchange time for dollars, at some point, my hope is for you is that you will at least consider being also an investor or a business owner or entrepreneur along with having that job. And this is why. Time is not limitless, right? We don't have all the time we need, and we're never going to have all the time we need. So if you're simply exchanging time for dollars, at some point you wouldn't have enough time. I have two boys, and we spend a lot of time at baseball and practices and basketball. And quite frankly, if I still had my employee job, I wouldn't be able to be a part of a lot of those events. And then of course, as I get older, I would probably not want to have to be spending so much time working at someone else's job or working for someone else for my entire lifespan, and really never be able to spend any time doing the things that I want to do that may not be job related, okay? And so anytime you're stuck just time and dollars, at some point you're going to be tired of it. And for some people, they're never tired of it. They can do it for their entire life, and I love them. I love those individuals. God bless them. But there's nothing wrong with having options. And so if you are an employee and you have the ability to be an investor or a business owner, I would say you definitely would want to take advantage of that opportunity, because when you are a business owner or an investor, when you get old, we all will get old at some point, we never want to have to worry about having to, after you retire, running out of money before you run out of life, right? Because if you got a 401k or you got a retirement fund, more and more now these days, people are living longer. And so if people are going to be living longer, you could end up living until you're 90. So if you retire at 65 and you live for another 25 years, 95, guess what? That's a lot of years you have to be able to sustain your lifestyle. And what generally happens is, someone may work their entire life and they retire and they have a good retirement fund, but after a few years, when you got to go to the doctor and you're spending a bunch of money in hip replacement and knee replacement and all the different replacements just so you can continue to live, or you have an expensive home care service that you need so that you can end up living out the rest of your life the way you want to live it. If your money that you rely on now is retirement money, and that amount of money gets smaller and smaller, it becomes very hard for you to be able to live the kind of lifestyle you want to live. Whereas if you're an investor, you got a bunch of real estate that generate revenue. And when I talk about investment, I'm talking about investments that you have that generate a return every single year. I'm not only talking about a 401k. It's great to have a 401k. I believe everyone who works should have a 401k. But of course, as you guys all know, with a 401k, you cannot take your money out before you retire. And if you do, it's going to be a penalty, or it's a loan or something that you have to pay back. Okay. Whereas if you're getting a dividend, or you're invested in some stock, or you have a business, those are things that are generating money for you every single day, every month, once a year, at minimum once a year, preferably at least every single month. And so as a result of that, if you were to retire and you have 10, 15, 25 properties that are generating revenue every single month, guess what? Your lifestyle doesn't change when you retire, because those properties are always going to generate revenues. Okay. And if the values and there's appreciation in the market, then those properties are always going to go up in value. And sometimes you can sell them, or you can hold them and just live off the cash flow. And that cash flow is generational wealth, right? And so now we get into the generational wealth aspect of it. We're just not simply looking for wealth for today. We're looking for something that we can build and leave. When we pass on to the next life, we need to be able to say, at least for me, I need to be able to say, what have I done when it was my turn? When I had my opportunity to live, what did I do so that I can put my kids, my boys in a better position, so that when they have to start life, they're not starting off the same way I started off. And my hope is, and I tell my boys this every single day, you also have a responsibility that when you take over and it's your turn, that you should put your family, your kids in a better position than I put you when you started off. And so that has really been my driving force. And a lot of what you will see on my page, a lot of the content, it's going to be about business opportunities that we're a part of, with that objective in mind. The objective of, starting a business or buying a business that will generate cash flow, with the hopes that those cash flows are going to go on beyond our lifetime. Or maybe we sell the business, but at least the money that is generated from that business will be reinvested into something that will go on beyond our lifetime. Okay. And so let me talk a little bit about what type of businesses or what type of things you will see as you follow my page. We do have a lot of businesses within the real estate space. So have you probably heard, I'm a real estate agent. And I started out as a real estate investor. That's where I started. And then I got my real estate license. But since I got my real estate license, I actually run a real estate agency business. I treat that as a separate business. So I treat real estate agency as one business. I'm doing real estate flipping, which, acquisitions, negotiations, buying homes, fixing them up, putting them back on the market. All that comes into that real estate investing category, but it's more so flipping. Then we have real estate property management. We have the rental properties that we do have. We manage those properties under our property management company. So we do all of the things that are necessary, and I have a team. And so when I say we, I'm talking about my team. I have a team of individuals that assist me in managing, responding to my needs of my tenants, all of the things that comes into that property management category for our business. We actually have an e-commerce business where we do drop shipping. We do drop shipping on Amazon and Walmart. And so I also have a few team members that focus entirely on the drop shipping business. And so sometimes you may see me come up here and we're talking about drop shipping. We're talking about e-commerce. We're talking about Amazon sales and how I started that business and how has that business been working and how I manage that business and how I'm able to automate that business. Because everything that I do, I try to automate the processes. There's some processes that I'm involved in, but a lot of them are automated. because I'm in the real estate investing space, I also started my roofing and construction company. And so, our construction company is the company we use for flipping. So when I get a property that I'm working on right now, I'm working on a couple of different properties. If you guys follow my videos, you'll see one of them. I have a big flip that we're working on. That's a huge flip that's going to be very, very extensive. My roofing company is the company that will be completing, my roofing and construction company will be the company we'll be using for that project. Now we'll have subcontractors, we always will have subcontractors, but as far as the company responsible for making sure everything gets done, it will be our construction company. I also run a logging business. I mentioned to you guys earlier, I was born and raised in Guyana. And so in Guyana, we do have a logging business. We have a lot of concessions, which means I deal with tractors and skidders and trucks and a whole bunch of dozers and forklifts, a whole bunch of heavy equipment that allows us to cut, fell logs, trees, wood. That's how we get lumber. And we process, either we process the logs and create lumber, or we ship the logs out to different countries and they process those logs and create lumber. Okay. And so my role in that business, that's a business I started with my brother, my dad, and myself. The three of us are involved in that business. And so that is another business that we do, which is completely different, not directly tied to real estate, but I'll explain to you how it will tie to real estate in the near future. So that is the core of how I generate revenue. All of my revenues are generated in the business owner or entrepreneur category, the B and the I. I'm not self-employed. The closest thing that you can see comes to being self-employed, because it does take a lot of time, would be real estate agency. But I really run my real estate agency business as a business. I do the things that I actually have to do, and which means meeting with clients and being there for clients and supporting my clients. But outside of that, a lot of the back end is handled by my team that I've been working with, and they are able to assist me in those processes. So that's my life, and so if you guys are following me, what you will find is that's all I do. I'm either looking to buy a business, or I'm working on the businesses that I currently have. And within the next week, we're hoping to close on another business. I'll be able to tell you guys more about it. It's in a totally different space. It's going to be my first commercial real estate acquisition. But because I was buying the real estate, I really wanted a real estate. And I also, because, real estate generally needs two things, right? It's either a real estate that have a business inside, and that business generates revenue, and that's why we call it commercial real estate. And so sometimes you buy the real estate and the business owner or someone else owns the business. In this particular case, we're buying the real estate and we're buying the business. And so not only will be controlling about 28,000 square feet of real estate, we will also be controlling a business with about 25 employees that will be a part of that business. And so keeping my fingers crossed, no deal is done until the deal is done. And so I'm not gonna, get ahead of myself. But once again, that will be another business that I'm gonna be a part of. That will take time. We're gonna spend a lot of time trying to get the processes in place and making sure the things that we're doing make sense and it can generate income, and it's an automated process. And once we have that process in place, we will then allow that business to grow, and of course look for more strategic investments opportunities within that space. Okay. And so that's really in a nutshell, what you can expect. You will see a lot of deals. You will see all types of deals. I even actually forgot to mention one of the things that we've recently been doing is corporate leasing, which, some people say about Airbnb, but it's really corporate leasing. We do have Airbnb and VRBO and Booking.com. Those are all platforms that we use. And so one of the things we've been doing with a lot of our rental properties is converting some of our rental properties to corporate leasing or vacation rental properties. And in some cases, we've gone out and acquired a few apartments. And if you guys follow me and look down below, some of the videos that I've posted are about apartments that I've actually recently put on corporate leasing. And you'll see within the next week, I have a really nice house that I'm gonna put on there, 2 properties. So I'm constantly doing a lot of transactions or looking at a lot of opportunities that primarily are going to be in real estate, or some type of real estate is involved. But sometimes, because I'm trying to maintain and keep those real estates, I'm also involved in the businesses that allows me to keep the real estate. Because real estate by itself that doesn't generate any revenue means absolutely nothing. The reason for buying real estate is to buy a cash flowing or revenue generating asset. And so, there's 2 ways you generate, revenues from an asset. Is either one, the person is living in the asset, and so they're paying you a rent because they live there and they need a place to stay, or they have a business in that asset, or they're running a business out of that asset. And so the business is generating revenue, and as a result, that revenue that is being generated from the business is paying a rent. And so that allows you to be able to maintain the real estate. Okay, so that is really a nutshell. Everything we do is under LLCs. So when I say a multiple business or different business, anytime you hear me say to you one of our business, it means one of our LLCs. It's a separate business. It's a separate entity. I own about 10 LLCs that operate. Out of the 10 LLCs, 7 of those are an operational businesses in those LLCs. And the ones that I don't have an operational business in at the moment is because I see an opportunity that I would at some point want to put a business into that LLC, or at least start to operate that LLC as a business. Or sometimes I also keep LLCs for opportunities. When I see an opportunity that comes up, for example, a property that I want to purchase, I may have to go out and get some partners on that deal. And so me having an LLC allows me to move quickly. I can write up an offer or a contract on a property in an LLC that was an empty LLC. It's a vessel, was an empty LLC, and I can add a few partners on that LLC, and now I have an LLC that I'm capable of going out and taking down an acquisition or purchasing a property just because I had it already available. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell. So once again, I know this is lengthy, but I want you guys to have a good, clear idea when you see me post certain things and you hear me talk about I'm an investor, I'm a real estate agent. I literally mean that. I wear those hats, right? And because I wear those hats, sometimes, for the average person, they're like, man, how do you do all of this? Well, first of all, I don't do it all. I have a team. And like anything else in life, when I start a new business, it takes a lot more time. It takes a lot of attention and focus. But I build a process. And so once I build out the process, then it does not take as much time after the process is in place. Really, all you're doing is keeping an eye on it. You're making sure it's well funded, making sure there's enough money coming in and out, making sure you can cover your expenses. But someone has a task they do every single day. And for example, my e-commerce business, I check it every day, but I don't actively work in my e-commerce business. I work on my business, right? And all of the businesses I have, I work on my businesses. There are a few, depending on the stage of that business, that I have to work in the business, but mostly I'm working on my businesses. And I have a team of people with processes that I've implemented that they follow, that allows us to be able to do what we have to do when it needs to be done. And so I'm not a one-man person. It's a team of people that I have that allows me to do what I do. So once again, thank you for following. I hope this allows you to have some content. I hope that me talking a little bit about the cash flow quadrant at least inspires you to want to have something that you can look at, kind of like a template, kind of like a game plan of how you want to spend the rest of your life. And maybe you just want to be an employee for all your life, and you've never thought about being an investor, or you never thought about being a business owner. And if that's you, I love you, and that's great. But for me, I personally believe, and I've said this before and I say it again, you can't hand the job over to your kid. The best you can do for your kid is help your kid to go get a job at a company that you work for, and then he has to start from scratch and start all the way over. And when you have a job and you retire and you take out your retirement, if you're constantly having to worry about, your money running out before your life runs out, then I don't know if that is the best strategy. And so for me and my family, I don't want to have to worry about money running out before my life runs out. And that is why I'm a business owner. That's why I look for business opportunities to invest in. That's why I buy real estate, because I'm pretty confident that the real estate that I buy are going to last beyond my lifetime. I'm pretty confident that if I'm involved in some businesses and those businesses grow, they're going to last beyond my lifetime. I don't have to worry about any of the assets that I'm invested in. I may end up selling them or something happens, but these are assets that can last beyond my lifetime. And so, that's what Robert Kiyosaki is trying to teach us. That is the process. That is the cash flow quadrant. It breaks down what you need to be doing. And if you're in just two quadrants, if you're in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2, you really need to take a serious look at getting involved in quadrant 3 and 4. Because 3 and 4 is where the money is made. There are just a few people, a very small percentage of people that makes a lot of money, what we considered really a lot of money, right? In quadrants 1 and 2. The real money is made in quadrants 3 and 4. Okay? With that being said, please, add some comments, give me some feedback, let me know what your thoughts are. If you think I'm wrong, tell me, hey, I think you're wrong, whatever the case is, share some feedback. If you guys want to hear more about the different businesses or anything in particular you want to hear about, any particular business you would like to get some more information on, please drop me a comment. We try to review comments as much as possible, and then based on those comments, we are going to come up with more and more content. So, happy and a prosperous 2022. I hope you and your family are having a great day, a great rest of the year, and of course, be blessed, and see you next time.